Tonight on KGW News, breaking out the boats. Part of Southwest Washington is underwater, while landslides continue to cut off neighborhoods.
We've lived here for 42 years, and we had the surprise of our lives.
Plus, skyrocketing COVID cases mean schools are planning for remote learning again, and businesses are temporarily closing their doors.
Now we're back to nothing right now. 2022 has been a rough start.
And later, it's the return of Friday Night Hoops with boys and girls high school matchups from around the area. Your news starts now. Good evening on this Friday night, and we start tonight with major flooding and landslides across Southwest Washington. Tonight, many people's homes and cars are underwater. Catherine Cook has a look at some of the damage from Lewis and Cowlitz counties.
Bailing out in Chehalis. Late Friday afternoon, Sky 8 captured images you could only see from the air, or by boat if you had one. Those who did were in high demand amid miles of muddy, waist-deep water. Flooding in Lewis County forced a 20-mile stretch of I-5 to close for hours. Around the interstate, stranded drivers ditched their cars, headlights still on. Horses huddled. Cows waited. And a few people drove right on through, ignoring advice from multiple agencies. 40 miles south of Chehalis in Longview.
And we had the surprise of our lives here yesterday about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Another impact of heavy rain. This landslide right next to Doug Parker's house on Maplewood Drive.
And it sounded as though during a windstorm we had several trees fall. And it was actually that slide next door that was going down the hill.
It took out a telephone pole, cutting off utilities for quite a while. Good chance someone missed their mail, too. Doug's just glad the slide missed his house. His neighbors are also safe.
We were extremely fortunate.
On Friday, Washington Governor Jay Inslee issued an emergency weather proclamation because of hazardous driving conditions. So far, officials have conducted 21 water rescues in Lewis County. Those displaced by flooding can find shelter at Centralia Middle School, which also has room for pets. Catherine Cook, KGW News.
The water is receding on the Oregon coast tonight. High water over Highway 101 closed the road to cars for a time yesterday. It is open now with some high water still nearby. And that wasn't the only spot seeing delays from flooding.
We drove up to Warrenton yesterday during all the heavy rains, and there's water all over the highway, and we had to keep going around the puddles that were forming all along the roadway and everything. So
Warrenton declared a state of emergency when its stormwater system became overwhelmed by the rain, leading to even more flooding. But conditions have improved tonight. And the rain has also moved out for the most part. Matt will have your weekend forecast just ahead, and you can always find the latest weather and traffic updates on kgw.com and on our mobile app. The pandemic brought more alarming headlines today as Oregon reported more than 10,000 new COVID cases. But we want to keep that in perspective. Take a look at this graph. The blue line shows daily COVID cases, and you can see that big spike we've seen in the last week. But the orange line shows people who are currently in the hospital with COVID. It is a much lower percentage of total cases than we were seeing during the Delta peak. But that doesn't mean hospitalizations are not a concern at all. They are going up and are expected to climb throughout the month. And that is why the Oregon Health Authority today issued some new guidelines for hospitals, just in case they need to start rationing care for the sickest patients. The rules would only be used when there are no other options, and hospitals are not at that point yet. But if they do go into effect, the rules would require hospitals use a triage team to decide which patients will get priority care. The overall question is, who is most likely to survive? Everyone hopes it does not come to that.
We certainly are hoping that these types of decisions are not needed. We'll continue to work very closely with our hospitals around staffing and other resources and collaboration and communication, but we wanted to be sure to equip our hospitals and healthcare partners with such a tool should these decisions be needed.
Even though the Omicron variant is less lethal than Delta overall, experts say it will still infect so many people that it will find those with weak immune systems and could overwhelm the hospitals. Oregon's governor today also deployed 500 National Guard members to help the hospitals most in need of more staff. The surge in COVID cases has led Portland Public Schools to halt in-person instruction at both Cleveland and McDaniel High Schools for at least a week. School leaders across the state expect several more schools will go remote in the coming weeks. Alma McCarty takes a closer look at how districts are handling this ever-changing situation. Alma?
The director of the Oregon Department of Education said Friday that keeping kids in classrooms all year long is their North Star. That's what they want. But when there are too many teachers out and not enough subs to fill in, districts don't have much choice.
Portland public school leaders explained there are several data points they look at when determining whether a school needs to pivot to remote instruction. The number of positive cases among students and staff, the number in quarantine, the staffing vacancies, and whether there are enough substitutes to step in. Staffing is the key factor.
We consider the closure of our schools to in-person learning and activities to be a measure of last resort.
The district stressed all of this is constantly evolving, but this was the snapshot PPS shared Friday. 754 students isolated due to COVID, 526 more in quarantine due to off-site exposure, compared with only 5 students quarantining due to an exposure on campus. As far as staff, 169 are in isolation, 58 quarantining after outside exposure, and 2 after an on-site exposure. More than 400 subs were requested district-wide, but only 60% of those requests were filled.
I don't think anybody in the broader community is going to be surprised that unless the conditions improve and we can guarantee consistency of staffing, that there may be additional school communities where we need to transition temporarily to distance learning.
That's not only the case for PPS. State leaders say they're bracing for staffing challenges everywhere and the likelihood that more schools will go remote.
With short notice, families will need to figure out childcare and revisit online classes.
Oregon's Department of Education Director Colt Gill explained educators are doing all they can to stay in person. He's urging everyone, not just students or staff, to set aside COVID fatigue and re-emphasize COVID protocols.
Even with high community spread, consistently implementing these practices keeps COVID-19 from spreading in structured school environments. We've proven this, but we have to commit to it to ensure that this works with the incredibly contagious Omicron variant.
Other school systems like the Beaverton School District haven't made calls for closures, but are increasing some safety measures like masking for band and choir and even outdoors at recess, and pausing other programs like school assemblies and visitors in the building. The district is even pausing the Test to Stay program due to a severe staffing shortage.
Thank you, Alma. And restaurants all over the city are being impacted by this surge in cases as well. The 1905 Jazz Club, for example, in North Portland is one of several businesses forced to close this week because of positive COVID cases among staff. They said they were struggling to fill positions, and then when they finally did, this latest COVID wave hit. For now, their priority is safety.
It has to be. I mean, we can't operate if we don't have a staff, and we can't operate if we don't have customers. So doing everything we can to protect both sides of that. Same with musicians. If musicians are sick, they're not going to be able to play. Or if they feel that they're at risk of getting sick because our protocols don't protect them. So it's for the benefit of everyone here.
Barnes says they hope to reopen next Wednesday. Expect to see even fewer flights from Alaska Airlines. The company said it's cutting 10% of its flights through the end of January, all because of COVID sick calls. This announcement also comes just 1 week after winter weather in the Northwest caused major disruptions for Alaska travelers. Alaska has already canceled 15% of flights since Christmas.